welcome. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Covestro Home Office Talks. Thanks for joining us. It's already the 7th episode, so I thought I'd renovate my digital office a little bit, and I hope you like it. We have a very, very special guest with us today, Dina Clark. Dina heads up our diversity and inclusion efforts in the US, and she is known in the Twitter sphere and beyond as Diversity Dina, a very fitting name for someone who is extremely knowledgeable and experienced in driving diversity and inclusion. As in previous episodes of Home Office Talks, you can be a part of this discussion and be a part of this dialogue. We'll be again picking up questions from the stream, and Dina will comment on those live. So be sure to write your thoughts in the chat box. Today, Dina is going to share her perspective on a very timely topic, one that I think is on top of mind of many companies and business leaders, the return to work after COVID-19. There are, of course, the logistical aspects of determining how and when to bring remote employees back to the office or to the production sites. But that's not what we're going to be focusing on today. We'll be talking about the cultural impacts of the pandemic and how that might change the dynamics of the workplace. So Dina will share some helpful tips for leaders and, of course, for you to consider as you navigate the ambiguity of the new normal, whatever it is. And we should have Dina on the line. Let's see if we can get a cool line to Pittsburgh, United States. And there you are, Dina.
Hello.
Hey, wonderful. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too, and thank you for having me.
So just for you, Dina, I renovated my office with a nice new sofa in the front, and these nice IKEA books in the back.
Nice and cozy. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Crazy stuff.
I wore my favorite home office sweater and scarf today too for you.
Cool. Your scarf is a lot nicer and softer than my heart pixels. So, Dina, thanks for being with us. We are, of course, in a situation where countries and cities and states are in various stages of a lockdown. And a lot of employees are now working from home, just like you and me. And so my first question to you, Dina, how is it going for you so far? And what's your experience been like?
Well, thank you for the question. The first word that comes to mind for me is grateful. I am not only grateful to be healthy, but also to be employed. And so I think that being able to work seamlessly from home is also an excellent thing that I'm grateful for. And also for a company that values diversity and inclusion. I think this topic now is more important than ever. And the employees that are here that value it, I've had more connections than people before. So grateful is the word that I think of, but thank you. I hope you're fine too.
Absolutely. So, Dina, for many companies, also for Covestro, the big focus right now is on protecting the physical health and safety of our employees. But what about their mental health?
Yes. Well, there are a lot of people who are working from home, and many of those people who are in isolation. And I think about that a lot because without that human connectivity, it can take a toll on people. And so it's really important that we think about the abrupt shift that has occurred and how people are coping with that type of a change. I also think it's important to think of the worlds of parenting and workplace merging and how that's affecting not only the parents but the children for their new normal at home and a learning capability or a learning environment. I also think that there needs to be consideration for the people who are maybe struggling because their families are all together. So there's a lot of different considerations, and I think listening is going to be more important than ever when we have to make sure people are not only dealing with these situations, but how we might be able to provide support.
And certainly, Dina, I can tell you, I have my daughter doing teleschool from right down below. And of course, we are, wondering with my wife, we have never been so much together before. So definitely, it's a wonderful thing, and it puts strains on at same time. But going back to the professional aspects, what are, in your opinion, some of the things that managers need to keep in mind as employees go back to the offices with fears and anxieties that they may not had there before? So, what can we do to make sure that employees feel safe and supported?
Well, I think you said it right there. One of the main things that's on everyone's mind is, am I safe? Am I healthy? How am I going to handle this change? And what will this new normal be for me? So as managers, it's really important that, yes, I'm sure the business is on a lot of people's minds, but so should the people. The people and the business should be combined. And when you think about how important it is for people to stay connected, that's something, a tone that a manager should set and make sure that not only are people connected, but they can address some of those fears. I also think that you have to think about what's in people's hearts and what's in their minds, because sometimes people aren't going to be comfortable sharing that directly with the manager. So it's important for people to be attuned to what people might be feeling and do some individual check-ins. Maybe not in a larger meeting call, but a phone call to someone, or even through another team member. One of the things I'm really grateful for at Covestro is that we have really been very direct about making sure our people are the focal point. And I appreciate that, not just as a person who cares about inclusion, but someone who also cares about people. And I'm glad to see that. And I know some other companies are doing the same, and I applaud them for their efforts. I would also say that there are people in the forefront that are certainly in the communities that are doing this, but for many businesses. And we have to recognize those efforts and what's in their hearts. And I think I'm a quote person, and some of the quotes that I like are, you never know how strong you are until it's the only choice you have. And I feel like that's something that should be recognized as well. So basically staying connected, checking in on people, making sure you're listening and addressing concerns, and making sure that there's some opportunities for health and wellness to be addressed as well. Just some things you have.
Thanks, Dina. This is something I'm also having discussions with my own team, remembering, to go out from time to time. And also interesting to get some of the feedback. Some of the people working from offices say that actually they feel more connected now, that people are chatting and having teleconferences than they did before, when people were physically running from one meeting to the other and they may not see each other so much. So I think it's interesting, some of the dynamics that we're seeing, that actually we can learn so much, also to be even closer connected to each other because of the pandemic. So one thing which I think is an interesting aspect, as we're experiencing today, something which may also generate social stigmas against some people. So and I think especially in the US, where you have a lot of variety. So what can you tell us about that, and how do you believe social stigmas can influence a company's efforts to be more inclusive going forward?
So I'm glad you asked that, because that's one of the things that's weighing on my heart these days more than anything, as a result of the pandemic. So in case the listeners or viewers don't know what social stigma is, and really I'm going to share it in the context of health and the pandemic for right now, but it is really the negative association between a person or a group related to this illness or a specific disease or outbreak. And when you think about how people are responding and the uncertainty that's around, there are things that are happening where people are being labeled, stereotyped, discriminated against, and in some cases even treated differently. We've seen housing discrimination, and it's happening around the world. It's also a concern where people are thinking and experiencing a loss of sort of their status because of her perceived link to the disease or virus. So we've got to be mindful that because this is happening in our communities, that it could also come into our businesses. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The world is not fair. However, we have an opportunity by staying connected to people and efforts like inclusion, but not limited there, to make our workplaces a place where people can have space to breathe and experience equality, and sometimes a place where they may not experience that anywhere else in their lives or in the world. So when we talk about stigma, we have to make sure that those added layers of discrimination don't come into our office spaces, and that we as people are able to say, no, we're going to fight for our culture and make sure our culture evolves, and therefore not only protecting our people, but protecting our business. So it's very important. And it's important to understand that people may want to hide, that they have a connection. I keep thinking, what happens when people return to the site office and somebody sneezes? How are people going to respond? Are they going to further isolate? Are they going to use that to justify? These are the things managers need to get ahead of, and we need to stick together to make sure not only people are safe, but that we still stay connected. So social stigma is weighing on my heart heavily, and I'm glad we're proactively addressing it, but I urge other companies and communities to think about the same thing.
I think these are very wise words, Dina. I think this is the time for the humanity to come out and not to judge people on something which has maybe nothing to do with the situation. So of course, many companies, including Covestro, have invested, and I know you have, a lot of time, energy, and passion to build a more diverse and a more inclusive culture, where even Finns like myself feel included by the colleagues. So why do you believe it's important that we make sure that we don't lose that focus in this difficult situation? And how can we re-engage those employees in this cultural journey I think you just described?
So I think that one of the first things is that diversity and inclusion, from my perspective, is more important now than it ever was. Not only for reasons like social stigma, but for staying connected. We are all facing a new normal, and that new normal is going to require new efforts to connect with each other. And I think, including this particular broadcast, there are opportunities for us to rise in the face of adversity to do so. I think that we have to acknowledge up front as leaders, but also as colleagues, our employees are scared. They're scared about a lot of things, the uncertainty that surrounds people. And we need to make sure that we are providing factual and helpful information to help people feel comfortable and safe. And in order to do that, you have to stay connected. It's also important for people to understand, what kind of a culture are we trying to build? And what kind of a culture do we want to protect in this new normal? So pulling all of those things together and really remaining strong in the face of adversity is what should be on not just a leader's mind, but also all of the colleagues that are part of the work environment. I also think it's important that we stay positive. I am a believer. I have a joke. I said my blood type is B positive, so it's in my veins. But I do think these are scary and uncertain times, and positivity is only something that can be helpful as we navigate this. And I have a lot of faith in modern medicine, and I know that this too will be something we'll be able to look back on and look at what we've survived. But I think that it's really nice to know that inclusion can really help support people's perspectives. And when you look at problem solving, we know from doing diversity work that when you have multiple people looking at multiple angles of a problem, you're going to get a better solution. And that's how I feel the situation we're in now. So if we stay connected and continue to communicate and involve people in not only the maintenance of our strength, but the solving of our current challenge, we're going to be better off in the end. At least that's what I feel in my heart. So there's a lot. And not only that, to make sure that we connect with employees who have missed some of the milestones, retirements, or certain levels of reaching in in the work environment, like a work anniversary, and find new ways to still celebrate those employees. But those are just some of the things that I think are important. But we do need to stick together to do so.
Thanks, Dina. So you're certainly radiating positivity, even from Pittsburgh to Cologne, Germany, through the screen. So I think you're creating a lot of hope. So Dina, before we go into the questions shortly, what would you leave with our listeners and audience with a message of inspiration, which I think you are already. But if you have something you want to share, what would it be?
I would say a couple of things. It's important to listen. It's important to stay connected. In fact, there's an African proverb that I love, and I think it's relevant for this scenario we're in right now. It's, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you'd like to go far, go together. And I think we are trying to all go far, and to me, it underscores staying connected. I also think we need to remember to be kind. Because of the social stigma and the uncertainty, everybody has a story that they're facing, and some of those stories aren't shared. So we need to be kind. We need to listen more than we speak. Someone told me there's a reason we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. We're supposed to be doing more listening than talking. And I think it's really important that not only that we stick together, but that we make sure that people are supported, and that we know that there will be another side to this, that we will survive and we'll be able to be stronger in the face of it. So that's what I would like to say.
Cool. Thanks, Dina, so much for these words. So let's now go over the questions. And we have already questions lined up, and I'll just start. Yeah, you never know what's happening in a live broadcast, Dina. This is what makes it so much fun. So we'll start with the first question from Joyce. The question is from Joyce Bender, and you can read it there, but I'll read it out loud. She is asking, what advice would you have for people with mental health disabilities working from home who feel isolated?
So hello to Joyce. I would say, again, the connectivity is very important, but we have to also understand that there might be additional considerations based on what people are needing to navigate from home. One of the things that came up in one of our early discussions is, with everybody being required to wear masks, how does that affect people with disabilities? And how are people navigating and understanding a population that may have a wide range of additional considerations? So again, the same types of things: connectivity, providing support, providing an understanding, and allowing people to tell you what they need, not deciding for somebody else. I think that's really, really critical. So those would be some of the key things that, at least at the top of my mind, would be important.
Thanks, Dina. Next question comes from Paulina Camacho. And excuse my Finnish pronunciation, Paulina. She is asking, how can we connect right now with clients that are having trouble in their business?
Well, it depends on the type of trouble, but if you're assuming around the connection of inclusion and trouble, I would find out what their challenges are. I think I'm grateful that Covestro has a network of people addressing sort of employee engagement and inclusion, but not all companies have that. So if they don't have an inclusion person, who's handling that? And if they don't have a department handling that, then the leaders need to step up and really understand not only what the challenges are with the customers, but also the challenges internally, and try and come together. Certainly, I'm more on the people side, talking about what that looks like, but there are business considerations too to not being connected. So if you don't fight for your culture now, and you don't have leaders that model what that looks like in an appropriate way, you may not have employees when we are on the other side of this pandemic. And they're going to look at your leadership in that during these times to make a decision around whether or not this is the right place to be. So I think it's very important that leaders don't separate the business considerations and the people considerations, but also listen and respond quickly and make sure facts are present. So that's probably that's probably my answer right now.
Thanks.
I'll think about it some more.
Thanks, Dina. I think you touched on a very, very crucial point. We have another question from in Canada. I'm not sure whether this is from Canada or whether the name is Canada. But anyway, the question is as follows. In what ways can we leverage these hard times to advance diversity and inclusion for the future? What do you say?
I would say one of the things that I think has been a positive during these very uncertain and somewhat sad times has been that many people, the frontline workers, the grocery store workers, the delivery workers, people who a lot of people don't often see. They go through their daily lives and may not even sometimes say hello. And now the same group of people are on the forefront. They are our connection to survival and our connection to really how we move through this new normal. And I think that it is really important that now that society has this new look on people who've been there all along, keeping things together, that hopefully there's a new appreciation, a new understanding, and a pause for people to say, you know what? It's not just, I always say the CEO and the custodian are both important. They both have a role, but people often see the CEO, they often don't see the custodian. But both are vital parts of the business. It's very similar to this. There are people that haven't been seen that are seen now. So I would say that that's important, to stay connected and understand, and to also make sure that inspires people to see other people in their own space, businesses, and communities.
Thanks, Dina. I think that's a really valid point. This pandemic is helping us to open our eyes to the people who are around us and working with us, but we have maybe not seen or even appreciated as much as we have today. Thanks, Dina, so much for your time. I know you're a busy lady and it's still morning in Pittsburgh, so you still have a long ahead of us as the Europeans are more going into the evening. So thanks, Dina, again for joining us, because you are truly an inspiration, not only to myself, but also the community who was watching us. So thanks for taking your time, and see you later. Keep doing the great work that you do.
Thank you for everything. Thank you so much, and thanks to everybody, and everyone stay healthy and safe. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Alrighty, so there we had Dina, and thank you again for joining us on another episode of Home Office Talks. As always, if you have any suggestions on topics we should elaborate on with our guests, such as Dina today, let me know. Stay tuned, stay safe, and stay healthy. And of course, to those who are now going to celebrate the 1st of May, the Labor Day, or Vappu, as they say in Finland, follow the rules and enjoy the weekend. Until next time, bye-bye.